How best to describe the year 2024 in movies depends on who you ask. It may either be the year that Sony superheroes sucked, remakes wrecked classics, or blockbusters bored billions. However you slice it, there was good, there was bad, and then there were the 5 movies we're about to dive into in this special edition of Grading on a Curve. What's up, everyone? Welcome to the end of year 2024 edition of Grading on a Curve on the It's Not That Bad podcast channel, a proud member of the Pantheon Podcast Network. And hello to all of our listeners. And we're going to toss a few shout outs here because some of the top cities that we were listened to in the year 2024. Hello to Toronto, Ontario, East Gwillimbury, Ontario, Los Angeles, California, Beggs, Oklahoma, and Paris, France, amongst many other cities around the world. I just want to take a moment here before we get into the show to say thank you to all of our listeners that tuned in during this past year, because at the time of recording, we hit almost 5,000 downloads in 2024 alone. Thank you, absolutely every single one of you, for tuning in, listening to us talk about the movies that you now no longer have to watch. You're welcome. But now is the time to talk about some of the movies of 2024. And I have a collection of people who have braved the selection of films for your enjoyment. First off, my lovely wife, Carrie. Carrie, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, and you could very much say that we're here for the good and the bad and the ugly.
Okay. Now you're just teasing things here. You're almost spoiling things here.
It works.
It does kind of work. All right, rejoining the show here for another round of craptacularness. Lyle Robichaud's back on. Lyle, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good, but I don't know why I keep signing up for this.
Yeah, that's the thing. You've been here. You've been here. Well, you have no choice, Carrie. You have no choice whatsoever. Lyle, you know what you signed up for every single time, yet you keep coming back like this is some weird sadomasochistic love of yours.
All I can say is at least it wasn't musicals this time. That was a small. There was one. We will get there, but it wasn't all musicals this time, which I can be thankful for.
I have to ask, what was the worst part about the musicals? The movies or the fact that I sang during the Pentagon of Pain?
Cats. Cats was the worst thing about the musical.
All right. And making not only his Grading on a Curve debut, but also his It's Not That Bad channel debut. But you've heard him over on There Can Only Be One. Joseph Whalen, moving over to the movie side of things. Joseph, how you doing, man?
Oh, man, I'm great. I'm happy to be here talking about some incredible films. Guys, this was such a treat to do this.
Why are you lying?
You're going to be sarcastic. I thought you were going to do this. I knew he was going to be sarcastic for this whole thing. I knew you were going to do this, Joseph Whalen.
Okay, I'm not going to be sarcastic for the whole thing, but you know what? I'm actually kind of excited to branch out a little bit here, challenge myself, as opposed to, some of the episodes I've been on with the There Can Only Be One are like things that I'm super passionate about, things I know a lot about. I don't know all that much about movies. I'm not a big movie guy, but this was a very interesting thing to do because these are not movies that I would watch if I had the choice.
These are not movies anybody would watch if they had a choice, but yet here we are.
Can I just say that this assignment is like 5 times worse than your standard show because we have to watch five movies.
But see,
5. That's 5 times our life that we'll never get back.
But see, here's the beauty part about this special is that normally we do our best to try to find the good things to say about them. Sometimes, however, we got to rage, and this is how we get that rage out because some of these films deserve a little bit of rage. Some, maybe there are some good things in there, but we're not going to spoil too much. But here's what we're going to do because we've talked long enough now, dear listeners. It's time to get down to the business of Grading on a Curve. So let me take a moment to introduce to you the contestants in the Pentagon of Pain. With every year, theaters and streamers bring you a world of visual wonder. But as you celebrate the passing of yet another year, be sure to include in your resolutions never to watch these films, which crapped all over the cinema world like a quality control agent at the worst Taco Bell ever. Welcome to The Cage, the 2024 entrance into the Pentagon of Pain. First up comes the realization that Jon Voight never saw a bad script he didn't like. Maybe say no next time, Johnny boy. Enter the world of The Painter, not starring Bob Ross. Next up, the most ironic title in 2024 movies, because absolutely no one wanted to actually see Wanted Man. In the third quarter comes proof that it's not just critics that can be harsh, because this flick got a 0 from the fans. Try not to break yourself by trying to make sense of The Blue Rose. Next, a movie that acts less as a lesson in copyright expiration dates and more as a warning to all classic literary and movie characters. Your time will come soon enough. You can't escape the mousetrap. And finally, comes a film that can only be described as a prophetic look at what the future would look like if Mark Zuckerberg and Instagram ruled the world. It's the second most ironic title in 2024 movies, Uglies. Now grab the largest Snickers bar you can possibly find, because it's time. Let the ranking of the rank begin.
I was trying not to make a noise, but the Zuckerberg thing, that popped me. That was funny.
So these are the 5 movies that we are talking about. The Painter, Wanted Man, The Blue Rose, The Mousetrap. Yeah, The Mousetrap. And Uglies. Now, those of you who are listening to this saying, whoa, you're talking about bad movies of 2024. Where's our Madam Web? Now, let me explain. Because in March, we always do a Grading on a Curve episode focused on the movies nominated for Worst Movie of the Year at the Razzies. And you cannot tell me that Madam Web isn't going to be nominated for Worst Movie of the Year. So we're going to get to that. This means I'm saving you, my dear panelists, from having to watch Madam Web twice. So you're welcome.
Say, because you know full well you're going to bring me back for Madam Web. You can't not let me dig into that like I want to. No, you have to bring me back for Madam Web.
Oh, don't worry. Your ticket is booked.
Yes.
So here's what we're going to do, dear listeners. We are going to go through these 5 films, ranking them in amongst themselves, with 1 being the best of the 5 and 5 being... I can't even come up with an excrement-based analogy that would perfectly fit what a 5 would get. And we're going to go around the horn, and everyone's going to give their rankings. And at the end of the show, we're going to take the aggregate score for these films and find out which is the crappiest of the crap and which is the most pleasant-smelling turd in the bowl. But we're going to start with The Painter, released January 5th. Starring Charlie Weber, Jon Voight, Madison Bailey, Max Montesi, Maria Avgeropoulos, Lulsa d'Oliveira, Leah Gibson, and Ryla McIntosh, and was directed by Kamani Ray Smith and can be seen on Paramount+. Also, our dear Canadian listeners, this one was filmed in Vancouver, British Columbia. The reason why this film is here, of course, are always the critics. Over at Rotten Tomatoes, this film has a tomatometer of Le Gros Donut, a big, fat, stinking 0. But to give you a bigger picture of this, the popcorn meter sits at 34%. At IMDb, it has a 4.7 star rating for a 47%. At Letterboxd, it sits at 2.4 stars out of 5 for 48%. And at the movie database, it sits at 62%. 62? Huh. Giving this film an aggravated aggregate of 38.2%. So we're starting off with a 0 film. And Joseph, since it's your first time here, we're going to throw you right into the deep end.
Oh, God.
What did you think of The Painter, and where did you rank it?
Okay, so this was one that I was actually, as far as the other movies go, in comparison, I didn't hate this one. I thought this one was actually like at least enjoyable. Like there were elements of it that I thought were, at least kind of endearing in some way. Like, I don't know, like I think that the Madison Bailey, like she did a pretty good job in the film. The girl that plays Sophia, the daughter, I thought she was good. Like I thought, like I believed a lot of what she was saying. The lead was very dry. The Peter guy, like super, super dry. And I know that the character is like a CIA guy and like is a hired gun basically. So like you're not going to get like a lot of deep, interesting sort of performance out of that. Jon Voight, good God, as the tease alluded to, that guy, I was like, he was not good at all in this movie. And like, that's not, like I don't like saying that, but I mean, yeah, like there were interesting elements to it. I ended up ranking it as my number 2 movie. I wasn't like as offended by this one as I was the other ones, but it was still not great.
Not as offended as the other ones, maybe the most singing praise I think we've ever given a film on this show.
It's true.
But yeah, no, it's funny. As I'm going through this, and dear listeners, let me tell you why this is actually my number 1 film out of all of this.
Oh, wow.
Jon Voight aside, because actually that being said, Jon Voight was actually somewhat tolerable in this film because, Lyle, you'll remember that we talked about him on the Movies of 2023 episode when we covered the film Mercy, but yet if I remember correctly, Mercy was also my number 1 film.
It was. Yeah, it was.
So like apparently Jon Voight doesn't necessarily ruin a film. I will, Joseph, I'll give you that the lead was a little bit dry, but Carrie, I have to ask you, in watching The Painter and watching the main character, the actual painter, right? Did he not remind you of the main guy from Cocaine Shark?
Oh my God. Yes.
And I'm sorry I had to bring up Cocaine Shark, but here we are.
Painful flashbacks there. Yeah, you know what? You're right.
Sadly, I'm right, yes. But here's the thing. When you're taking a look at the story of this, and one of the key things about the movies seemingly in this year's selection is that a lot of them seem to want to call their shot for a future sequel. The Painter actually set up a very believable world that I'm sitting there going, I don't hate this plot, this idea that there's this shadow government agency that is taking children who have lost some kind of sense and heightening others like a discount Daredevil and creating this like special forces elite force kind of thing. Was Max Mondesi a little bit on the kooky side with the wearing the headphones and like dancing around like he's a wannabe Kirkland Brand Sam Rockwell? Maybe. Yeah, sure. Okay. But I like the world that they set up, and I found the twists and the action actually pretty good. Like, I didn't hate this film as much as I thought I was going to. And maybe because when you see that 0% critic score, you go in with tempered expectations, but I actually didn't mind this. Lyle, over to you, The Painter.
Yeah, I kind of echo exactly what you and Joseph both said. It's my number 2. Solely off the fact that it wasn't as blatantly offensive as the other ones to my senses. But did you need the money, John? Why are you taking these things? What happened? Is your agent just like, are you self-employed agent-wise? How do you keep getting yourself into these messes? But the action was good. That's really why this is at number 2. The story was your kind of typical ex-CIA does X regular job now, gets, just when they think I'm out, they pull me back in kind of stuff. But the action was good. The action was very tolerable and fun to watch in some scenes. It's just a kind of middle of the road, forgettable action movie, which unfortunately, when stacked up against the rest of these things, makes it really one of the better ones of the pile. So it's also my number 2.
I have a feeling that Jon Voight is just repaying some agent for all the trauma that he caused with Anaconda. That's the only way I can boil it down. Carrie, over to you, the painter. So far, it's done pretty well. How'd it do with you?
For me, this movie is like straight down the middle. I'm giving it a 3.
Okay.
I did enjoy the roller coaster of emotions that this movie triggered. Like the whole angle of, like the sadness of losing a child, and then the full circle when he gets to meet her again, but he's so far removed from that world that he has to be put off and almost in denial, right? And then like nobody is who they seem to be, and just the twists and the turns and the emotional roller coaster that this movie brought. I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. I liked it more than I thought, but I went into this movie absolutely cold, not knowing anything about it, not really, aside from John Voight, not recognizing any of the characters. The actors were not kind of on my radar. So it was almost kind of like, okay, so I have no preconceived, expectations from this movie.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it wasn't awful and it wasn't great. It just kind of was right down the middle for me.
Yeah. This will be one of those films that if you happen to grab it on like a 7 movies for 7 days, you're not complaining because it's not a waste. It's not like one of those, oh dear God, why did I grab this off the shelf? By the way, Madison Bailey, this is actually the second film we've talked about with her in a very short span of time, because it wasn't that long ago that we did an episode on this, on It's Not That Bad, on Time Cut. And I actually liked her in that one too. So she's got a good thing going in 2024. I just feel bad that she had 2 films in 2024 that both qualified for the podcast.
Oh, it's such a clutch off-season pickup, Dave.
I was worried we'd bring back the same team.
I meant those blackout motorized shades.
Blinds.com made it crazy affordable to replace our old blinds.
Hard to install?
No, it's easy. I installed these and then got some for my mom. She talked to a design consultant for free and scheduled a professional measure and install.
Hall of Fame son.
They're the #1 online retailer of custom window coverings in the world.
Blinds.com is the GOAT.
Shop Blinds.com right now and get up to 40% off select styles, plus a free professional measure. Rules and restrictions may apply.
We now move on to Wanted Man, released January 19th. This film stars Dolph Lundgren, Kelsey Grammer, Christina Villa, Michael Pere, Roger Cross, and Aaron McPherson. It was written and directed by Dolph Lundgren himself. So if you're sitting there watching this film going, oh my God, I can't believe his character said that, he put those words into his own mouth. At the box office, because yes, it did actually hit the box office, has a worldwide box office total of $13,204, all of it coming from the United Arab Emirates. No domestic release, although you can watch this one as well on Paramount Plus. But for the critics' scores, over Rotten Tomatoes, this film has a tomatometer of 7% and a popcorn meter of 32%. At IMDb, it sits at 4.8 stars for a 48%. At Letterboxd, it's right down the middle with a 50% score at 2.5 stars. And at the Movie Database, 68%, giving this the highest aggregate of the 5 films we're talking about on this show, a 41%. So, Carrie, we ended with you with The Painter. Now we're starting with you with Wanted Man. Where are we putting this?
Oh, good. I get to be the first to take it down a notch. This is my 5. And you know what? If I had to give it anything lower than a 5, I would. Believe me. I found it racist. I found it written like what the preconceived notion of what a dirty cop's mind would actually be, only made 10 times amplified and magnified to be worse. For a character of a seasoned, old boy cop, he was just dumb. Like the actor, the character was making stupid mistakes, like picking up his cell phone and making calls to, his friends, his old boy club. They're going to be there for him. Well, maybe not. It angers me how bad this movie was. And help me out, guys, because I'm getting rage just thinking about it. I really disliked it.
I'm bleeding out. Let me call you back. What? No, wait.
It was bad. It was just bad.
All right, Lyle, Wanted Man, over to you.
Yeah, it's my 4 for a lot of the exact same reasons. A lot of the time I was watching it, I was just like, oh my God, why did he write himself to say this? If I'm a big fan of Futurama, and the entire time I was just thinking of that Zap Brannigan line. Poor Dolph, the mind is willing, but the flesh is spongy, bruised, and weak. That's what I just kept thinking about, because I'm just like, man, he is a shadow of his former self. And this, I cannot believe this didn't make more waves on getting him canceled online, just because of how edgy it is. And I don't know what the thought process was behind it. Were they trying to be edgy in a way to get publicity for it? Is this how he really thinks about these issues? What's the play here? What was the original intended end result? It truly is an 80s action movie made this year, and it just does not translate well. If this would have came out in 82, maybe it would have done a little bit better. But yeah, that's $13,000 too much for this to have made.
Yeah, you know what? I'm in agreement with both of you. It's also my number 5. I mean, if Dolph Lundgren had taken a role that was written by somebody else and directed by somebody else, you could sit there and you can kind of brush it off like, okay, he's taken a role, it's an action film, and we know that actors need to take the roles sometimes just to because of the guilds, they need to be a working actor so they can keep those benefits, kind of thing. This feels like one of those films.
John Veidt.
I think so, right?
Exactly.
But wrote this thing.
Yes.
He put those words into his own mouth, and he created a character for himself that is entirely freaking unlikable. I'm sorry, if I was like the girl, if I was like the prisoner, I would let him die on the side of the road in Mexico while his buddies are on hold. Let the buzzards have. There is nothing likable with this character. We're supposed to think he's the hero? No.
I kept thinking in my head, it's like when Quentin Tarantino keeps writing himself into creepy roles, except this is way worse. Because at least he's just the weird drinking, beer off of Selma Hayek's feet. But this is completely different and shows that you're a terrible person. It's so wild to me that this did not get more attention.
Tarantino can stare at all the bare feet that he wants. Don't let Dolph Lundgren write another script ever again. Joseph, over to you. Wanted Man.
Yeah, I think you guys covered a lot of the bases. As soon as I started watching this, I was like, this is not a great commentary on anything. He is I do not want to know what Dolph Lundgren thinks. Actually, I feel like we have a window into what he thinks. And I didn't ask for that, for sure. And I did not want Kelsey Grammer to be a part of it, indirectly. That hurts me on a deep level. I have it as my number 3, only because I find it mildly entertaining that Fraser Crane was sitting in a strip club with his old cop buddies and just drinking beer instead of going to the theater with Niles. That's the only thing. That's all that I was enjoying in that movie. The entire Mexican, the representation of the border and people crossing and everything that was going on there. It was just it was deeply offensive. and that's I guess my reasoning for having the painter where I did was that it wasn't as offensive to me as the other ones. This one's 3, but it was the most offensive thing that I've watched in my life, probably.
Literally, the biggest question out of this film is, who does Dolph Lundgren hate more? Himself, Mexicans, cops, or moviegoers? That is the only question that needs to be answered after watching Wanted Man.
Yeah, if his career dies, it dies.
And why did he need to be shirtless so much? We didn't need that.
He went to the Captain Kirk School of Action Movies. Moving on to The Blue Rose, released July 12th. The movie stars Olivia Scott Welch, George Barron, Danielle Bizzuti, Nico Austin Smith, Jordan Denning, and Ray Wise. And it was written and directed by George Barron, the guy who played Detective Dalton in the film. Surprisingly, and I know sometimes because we talk about these films in the year that they were actually released, we don't really get to say much about how they fare. In this case, though, this film did see an appearance at the 2023 Fog Fest Film Festival, which is a horror film festival based out of St. John's, Newfoundland. Aray Rebner won for Best Production Design at the 2023 Fog Fest Awards. George Barron was nominated for Best Feature Film Director, lost to Tyler Chipman for The Shade, and Alex Burke and Leandro Cassan were nominated for Best Score and Sound Design, but lost to the film Blueberries for Iris. Over at Rotten Tomatoes, the critics haven't even watched this film. It has no tomatometer, but as mentioned in the Pentagon of Pain, this film has the rare distinction of having a 0% popcorn meter. That means the audience gave this a 0%. At IMDb, it sits at 3.8 stars. Letterboxd, 2.9, giving this a 58% over at Letterboxd. And at the movie database, it's at 43%, giving this an aggregate of 34.75%. So, Lyle, the Blue Rose, is this your rager?
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to preface all of this by saying you've given me new information to go on the rant that I was about to go on. Joseph, what are your countrymen smoking on Newfoundland? To give this some kind of award. The top of my notes for this is just simply, what the is going on? What is happening? I have never watched a movie where I was so thoroughly confused the entire time. The effects are terrible. The acting is terrible. The best part of this movie is the opening title cards that remind me of like 1940s Disney movies. That's the only good thing about this. It makes no sense. The wigs they all wear are ridiculous. It looks like, I don't know how to describe this. It looks like an episode of Murdoch Mysteries. That's what the cinematography reminds me of. That's how low budget.
That's a good show, Lyle. That's a good show.
Joseph, this is not your time.
Oh no.
Often people wear mask speech. Danielle Bizzuti was Freya in God of War Ragnarok. How the hell did she end up in this pile of shit? I have never watched a movie. At least Dungeon Siege made sense plot-wise. They wake up just in front of a psych ward. Out of random, they're just like, how did we get here? I don't know. Well, let's go inside. What the hell do you mean? It is 6. It's my 6.
And the Snickers bar goes to you.
Oh my God. I have never been so confused watching a movie. I watched it with somebody else. I watched it with my girlfriend Paige, and even she was looking at me like, am I missing something? Or I've lost the plot. I was like, there is none. That's the secret, Cap. We don't have a plot. So we're just going to go and hope something happens. The stabbing that happens at the end was the fakest thing I've ever seen. You can literally see in perfect frame the knife not even touching the girl. Everybody was acting like the short films that I made in film school a few years ago were legitimately better than this movie. I'm so upset with it. This is 6. I don't have a 5. This is 6.
I just love the part where it's like, this is not your time. Like someone interrupted your movie therapy session.
I have never been so like legitimately confused where I had to rewind a movie and watch the last 10 minutes to see if I missed. No, they're just going here. I guess we're here now. It is baffling that this was nominated for any kind of award except for a Razzie.
The thing is, though, I don't think this is even on the Razzies radar. Like this is a very independent production, and independently viewed apparently by the four of us. Carrie, over to you. The Blue Rose. Your thoughts?
Whew. Well, I agree with all previous points. However, I'm here to probably stand alone and defend. It's a 4 for me, so it's low. Okay. Did it make sense? No, not a chance. Not a chance. But the points where I found it most predictable, like I could literally, Jay, we watched this together, and I literally called the shots. I was like, yeah, she's going to stab him. Yep. Okay, this is going to happen. Like, literally, it was almost like the intention of this movie was to be so incredibly out there that it was predictable. You know what I mean? Like, you could literally be like, okay, this is going so far out that way that this is going to happen, and that's the only outcome. Visually, it was, I think, really interestingly done. Like, was it spectacular? No. Was it low budget effects? Yeah. But it was interesting to watch. It was visually intriguing to watch. Like everything from the musical opening to a lot of the costumes, kind of that Stepford Wives, like beautiful gowns, like a lot of the costume choices. I was like, "Ooh, that's a really interesting choice." Right? It was visually interesting. The silent scream. Okay. I was like, that's really cool. You know, because you can just, you're watching this and you're like expecting to hear this blood curdling scream, and it was silent. And it was like, wow, okay, that's cool. I'll give it that. And then the scene, like with the child and the bird, that was hard to watch. Like, I think that's what clinched it for me. I was like, oh, they went there. That's just sick. Like, there's horror movie, and I don't really think this is a horror movie, but it was a bit demented. It was a little twisted.
Wait, you said you predicted everything. At no point did I hear you somewhere say, oh, just you watch. Now bunny men with sledgehammers are going to come in and take care of everything.
That's exactly what I was thinking when she said you could beat it. So, a crisp $5 bill to whoever can explain to me the zombie cutting the flower. Someone tell me. Someone give me the Cliff Notes and explain to me what that meant.
You know what the scary thing is? Right now, someone is listening to this podcast going, holy shit, I have to watch this film now. This is awesome.
No. Save yourself.
I'm quoting Futurama again, but I'm going to quote Zoidberg. Your movie is bad and you should feel bad.
Joseph, was the movie bad and do you feel bad?
I also had it as 4. I don't feel that bad about it. I think I feel worse knowing that there's some ties to Newfoundland involved in all of this. I feel like my beautiful home province should just, I don't know what the hell is going on out there, but man, just get away from this as fast as you can. Okay, so they all made the point that I don't know what the hell happened. I don't know what it was. I didn't understand it. I was like, am I like not like, is this because I don't watch a lot of movies? I don't understand this. Like, is this like I was like, no, this is just clearly there's no plot. It's very strange. The one thing I'm going to point out that aggravated the hell out of me for like, and this is like the weirdest thing to be annoyed about, is the part where they're trailing the singer out of the club
a big pink Cadillac,
the most obscene pink car,
big pink convertible Cadillac,
and not maintaining the distance of 30 feet, which is established as being as far back. You need to be like far back so as not to draw suspicion. And they're in a pink car. How is that not going to elicit some suspicion? And of course, I know that then she catches on and sees them in the rearview mirror and throws out the triangle thing. But I was like, these are terrible detectives. Like, this is awful. And so that was obviously like a weird straw that broke the camel's back for me. Whereas like the rest of the movie just clearly didn't make any sense. But that particular part of it, I just found that incredibly annoying. And it suspended my disbelief that these like young toddler looking detectives could actually be detectives. But I actually thought like the style of it looked kind of cool. Like I will say that I thought the style looked kind of cool. Like I could see how that might be interesting to somebody. It wasn't interesting to me, but I had it as 4. I'll leave it at that.
Because you like Murdoch mysteries. That's why you think that it's interesting.
Do not besmirch the good name of Yannick.
I'm not
Bisson,
saying Murdoch mysteries is bad. I'm saying I was trying to figure out through the movie, what does this look like? This looks The cinematography is exactly the same to something. And it's when they were sitting in the ball, or they were sitting at the diner having dinner with the girl they eventually trailed in the loudest car imaginable. And I was like, it looks like Murdoch Mysteries. That's why. It looks like CBC's like penultimate show. But I would rather watch Coronation Street than this again.
Oh, dear God. Oh, you went there, didn't you?
God.
By the way, Joseph, I know you don't watch movies. This is not how movies go. Okay? None of these movies is how movies go. But let me explain why this is actually a 3 for me. And I know I've got the highest score for this film. We've all touched upon the stylistic look of this. And you have to remember that this is not a big budget film. So I think with some of the cinematography, with some of the lighting, with some of the camera plotting, they actually, I mean, yes, does it feel like some really trippy student project? Yes, it does. But even if it's that, it's a really well shot one. I'm going to give them credit for this. Also, I found this to be half of a decent film, and then all of a sudden you took a left turn over at Twin Peaks and went down that road. The first half of this film felt like this odd little quirky little period piece kind of detective drama, and I'm like, okay, I'm kind of getting it. Even the opening scene where it felt like a musical where the wife basically kills her cheating husband, I'm like, this is different and it's kind of cool, and I'm following that these are not the best detectives and they're put on this case because you got to do something with him because it's the chief's son. Gonna put him on some kind of case, which is why he gets the car. I was fine with that. Not fine with them bursting a tire and then not changing the tire, then driving away perfectly as if they changed the tire. Continuity, people. But still, it's one of those things where the first half of this film, I was like, I can get behind this. It is a quirky little period drama. And then the bunny men with sledgehammers show up and it goes way the other direction. And all of a sudden I'm like, what the did the acid kick in for me at that point? Because I'm starting to wonder if reality kind of shifted. That's how it felt. Cinematography wise, fantastic. Score, sound, yes, deserved to be nominated in those categories at the FogFest Awards. From a production standpoint, the film has a lot of bonuses. From a writing, plot, acting, performance, maybe not so much. But you have to remember, again, if it's a low-budget production, there's a lot of good in here. And I don't feel like it definitely tried to punch above its weight class, even though it had a script that was all the Twin Peaks tropes.
It felt like Riverdale got beat to death with a weapon from Stranger Things.
Wielded by Kiernan Shipka as playing Sabrina from the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina.
It was just a mishmash of the most random things. It felt like a YouTube compilation, an anthology series that was stitched together. I have never watched a movie that left me so confused.
Clearly produced by Greg Berlanti, of course. The Mousetrap, originally titled Mickey's Mousetrap. It's time to shit on the mouse. Released August 6th, it stars Sophie McIntosh, Kaylee Stiles, Mireille Gagne, Callum Swick, Simon Phillips, Brie Harris, Allegra Nochita, Mackenzie Mills, Jesse Naismith, Madeline Kellman, Demir Kovic, and Nick Biskupek. And I apologize if I messed up any of those names. Remember, I'm an idiot in a basement with a microphone, so don't come to me for accuracy. It was directed by Jamie Bailey, who will also in the future be directing, and I'm not even kidding you on this, The Mousetrap, Welcome to the Mickeyverse. There is a sequel coming. Oh, dear God. It also made money at the box office, and I am proud to say that it made more money than Dolph Lundgren did, because it made $60,595, all of that coming from Turkey, Hungary, the Czech Republic, and Slovakia. Over Rotten Tomatoes, this film once again has no tomatometer, so doesn't factor into our aggregate. The popcorn meter sits at 18%. Over at IMDb, it sits at 2.5 stars. at Letterboxd, it's 1.3 for a 26%, and at the movie database, it's at 43%, giving this the lowest aggravated aggregate of the 5 at an even 28%. I'm giving this a 4. Not because we're crapping on Mickey Mouse here. I'm fine with that, because we talked about Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey last year. And even that, I think, got my 3 last year. The 4 on this one, part of it is that it definitely feels very low budget. It was filmed in 8 days in Ottawa, Ontario, at a place that we have taken our children to. This film hits real weird when you're sitting there going, this looks familiar. Oh, they filmed there. Oh, crap. Oh, no. I've been there. I know where they are. Oh, dear God. But, we need to talk about 2 things here. The first is, and I'm going to try and pronounce his name properly again, Nick Biskupik. The worst bad cop in the history of bad coping that ever bad cop. This guy was just like, at one point he looked like, I don't know, like a horny ferret with his teeth kind of like, you're going to tell me what I want to hear. Dude, chill it the out. But also, we get through this whole thing. You kill the final girl, the girl who's supposed to be the final girl, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, by the way, the girl you're holding somehow is in league with Mickey, like for no reason whatsoever. It's like, but we're going to create a sequel and she's going to be how? That ending made no sense whatsoever. It's not my 5 because there were points in the film where I'm like, they're making some kind of like almost meta references, and I kind of get behind that, and I'm good with that. But the ending made me angry. Not as angry as Dolph Lundgren through a whole film, but this ending made me angry as hell because it was like, we're going to go this way because reasons. The 4 for me. Carrie, seeing Funhaven in a very different light, how did the mousetrap fall for you? I
freaking loved this movie. I give it a 1. I give it like 5 stars. It was freaking so much fun. Ottawa represent the fun house, Sonny's restaurant that they used as a bar. Oh my God. Like Ottawa represent. I loved like the actors were having so much fun. The Star Wars scroll that we can't say was Star Wars because Disney, we can't make any reference to Disney, even though this chap has got clearly an old school Mickey Mouse mask and clearly watching Steamboat Willie, Mickey Mouse old school movies and shorts and stuff. Oh my God, I love this movie. I thought it was so much fun. It was exactly, it understood the assignment. It had fun with a lot of the horror movie tropes. It didn't take itself too seriously because how can you take yourself seriously? You're in Funhaven. Is it Funhaven?
It's Funhaven.
Funhaven. You're in Funhaven. You can't be serious. And oh my gosh. What else did I want to say about this? I'm so excited to be talking about this movie. And I am so excited about the idea of making a second one. I loved the turnabout that they left it open for that character that I felt she played it so well because she was like the whole time you're like, okay, she has just suffered a really traumatic incident. And these cops are just badgering her at this point. It's like, okay, like have some sympathy, right? She just witnessed her friends getting hacked and slashed by some dude in a Mickey Mouse mask. Like, Come on.
Oh, okay, but
some sensitivity training, maybe?
Did the dialogue not feel like an improv game where you answer a question with a question, and then you answer that question with a question, and then you answer that question with a question?
But she played it so damn well.
But she had no right to be the final girl.
Oh, you know what? Loved it.
Oh, dear God. Joseph, the mousetrap.
So Jason, just to tag your point on that actor, the Nick Biskupik. Yeah. I was thoroughly distracted the entire time because that guy's in a Hockey Hall of Fame commercial. So that like completely threw me for a loop. I was like, I've seen this guy before. Yeah. I was like, I've seen that guy before. I was like, where is he from? And I was like, oh, that's the dude from the Hockey Hall of Fame commercials. Anyways, that was that was very distracting to me. I don't like horror movies, guys. I don't like blood and gore, and I don't like slashers. I don't like any of it. And I sure as hell don't like them when they're about like my childhood, like Mickey Mouse. Like if Fraser Crane being like planted into this like racist cop movie was like a departure that I'd never seen. I did not want any. I opened this up and I was like, oh, for it's this Mickey Mouse horror movie. I don't want to watch this, man. So I did. I sat through it. I watched it. I was thoroughly distracted by the cop that was in the Hockey Hall of Fame commercials. And I thought it was, it's a horror movie. Like it's not for me. It never is for me. I have it as my 5 because I don't like horror movies. And I just think there are some things that it's like that Winnie the Pooh one. I will never in my life watch that, Jason. You can't make me do it. I'm not doing it.
You say that he's not going to make you do a lot of things, and then you find yourself sitting in this chair having watched it.
She made me watch that.
I'm going to tell you that right now. Don't say those things because they're not true.
I have to mention though, Joseph, because you are more than welcome to come back on any episode of Grading on a Curve. However, I should point out that next year in 2025. Not only are we getting Popeye the Slayer Man, but we're also getting Bambi the Reckoning. And yeah, I got a feeling.
I'm pumped for Evil Bambi. I'm not going to lie to you at all. I actually want to see what the hell they're going to do there.
Have you seen the trailer for that?
Yeah. I'm in. I'm fully in for Evil Bambi. I want to see a deer going on a murder rampage. I'm from New Brunswick. That's already happened a couple of times in our history, I'm sure.
If anyone's completely justified in that, it is Bambi. I will say that. Bambi, I'm completely on board with, like getting a shotgun and just, going ham. But like this wasn't for me. But I appreciated the horror tropes, like all that stuff. Like I don't watch horror movies, but I was like, okay, I can see like that this is just a horror movie and it's not terrible, but it was just not for me at all in any way, shape, or form. So it's my number 5.
What are we going to do with Bambi? Is Thumper going to be sitting there going, if you have no one good to save no one at all? Like,
if Thumper doesn't kick somebody to death, it's not a movie. They've lost the whole material.
Okay, if Thumper kicks someone to death, instant number 1.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's so many things that they could be fantastic. Like,
all right, but Lyle, we're back to the mousetrap with you. Where does it rank?
Harry, I'm 100% with you, man. Number 1 with a bullet.
Yes.
Number 1 with a bullet. It's so bad, it's fantastic. That's exactly what it is. All these friends hate each other, and I love it. I've never seen a group of people acting as friends that are just so absolutely passive-aggressive and dickish toward one another. The Star Wars scroll at the beginning, at the end, it just goes, anyways, here's the movie. I was won over, and I knew it was going to be number 1 after the Star Wars scroll, because I'm like, that's hilarious. You had a 7-year-old child rejecting a grown woman, and it was also hilarious. The Steamboat Willie throwbacks with the whistling I thought were really cool. The one where they were talking about, it's better than that birthday that you want to take me to a strip club. Any excuse to go to a strip club, right, Paul? Like, I'm just, why do these people hate each other so bad?
Oh, and come on, the candies, the sour candies from across the world. That's exactly what I was about to say.
Every sour candy from around the world. That's adorable. What's also adorable is that man sees his friend-zoned love interest get decapitated and immediately goes, I didn't even get to ask her out. Everyone reacts to murder in this movie like people in Scooby-Doo react to people robbing banks. Like they see their friends die in front of them and they're just like, oh, well, that's not good. Like, no, it's not. There's a dead person. She says that. The final girl says that. She sees someone walks up on her 2 friends, throat slit, handcuffed to a door, and she just goes, oh, that's not good. Like, man, a little bit of urgency.
Also, no one in the history of ever has killed anyone with a floor hockey stick.
Exactly.
What kind of a hockey team is that's a floor hockey stick that you probably got a Canadian Tire.
The VR game kill, the fact that a flashing flashlight was his weakness because I guess it's like a film camera. That was my guess. Worst ending for a horror movie I've ever seen, but it was hilarious. It was so bad, it's my number one because it was fantastic.
I mean, I want to give credit where credit is due. Sophie McIntosh was actually enjoyable in this and carried the whole damn thing. But that ending just skewed the out of it for me. I
was laughing so hard throughout, and I know that probably wasn't the intent, but it's my number one because I enjoyed the hell out of watching this.
Sometimes that's the only saving grace you need. But now we get to the final film of our journey, Uglies, released September 13th, based on the novel by Scott Westerfield. It stars Joey King, Brianne Shu, Keith Powers, Laverne Cox, Sharman Lee, Jay Devon Johnson, Jan Luis Castellanos, and Chase Stokes. Directed by freaking McGee, of all people, and released on Netflix. Over Rotten Tomatoes, this film has a tomatometer of 16% and a popcorn meter of 43%. At IMDb, it sits at 47%. Metascore, 34. Letterboxd, real low here, 1.4 stars for a 28% score. And over at the movie database, real high here, already up to 60%, giving this an aggravated aggregate of 38. So, for our final film, Joseph, again, it's your first time here, so you get to start to take us home on this one. Uglies, taking a look at your score, this is your number one.
Yeah, it is. You know what? I didn't hate it. I kind of liked it, to be honest. I mean, there's a good source material here. Like, people love this novel. I never read it, so I didn't know. But anyways, people seem to really like this novel. The source material seems to be pretty solid. Like, there's an actual message here. There's like like these people are like all in this like academy, like they're ugly and they get like the cosmetic surgeries, but they don't know that it's actually like their brain. That's a cool story. Like, that's actually something I was like able to sink my teeth into and be like, okay, this is actually kind of cool. And there's a resistance. There are people that don't want that. I liked it. It's really cool. It's a really cool message on like the superficiality of society, and like it's futuristic and it obviously dystopian. So I was like, there are elements here of a story, and the other ones, a lot of them didn't have elements of stories. So I was like, there's a good source material here, if not well executed. I will say that, like, there's definitely aspects of this that were not super great. Like, I'm not sure that the acting was overall like very good, but I was fine with it most of the time. Yeah, I enjoyed it. It was a fun romp. I was like, okay, yeah, like I watched it. I kind of got invested in it more than I got invested in the other ones. And yeah, it was my number one.
All right. So this is my number two film. And a lot of it goes to the hands of McGee, because I think that it is directed really well. It looks really good. The action sequences are great. The world building is good. Obviously they're looking for a sequel because there are more books in the Ugly series. So clearly you're setting yourself up for one. Here's the biggest problem I have with this film. And I actually really did enjoy this film. I did. But have we learned nothing from She's All That? Hear me out here.
I did not think that was going to be the end of that sentence.
You're trying to tell me, and She's All That a pair of glasses and what coveralls is going, that Rachel Lee Cook is ugly because she has glasses on and she wears No! Here we have Joey King, arguably an attractive woman, and it's like, no, you have a squint. You have to get this film leans into the worst tendencies of Instagram culture. And this film is saved by some good acting, some great action, decent scripting, great plot. It's a good film, but the premise of the world is horrible. The progression is good. The premise sucks. but it still was a very enjoyable film, especially when you compare it to the others. Carrie, it's also your number 2 uglies for you.
It is. I agree with you there that number 2 is out of the 5 where this movie sat for me. And I think that was only because I would have put it as number 1, but reasons. Mousetrap, gotta win.
Yes, I agree.
So I really liked this movie, and I liked it. Again, the social commentary aspect, the when you look deep within yourself about happiness, right? And you think that, okay, they live in a world of mind control, but they're not aware of it. And what the line that caught my attention was when she went to rescue her friend from the other group. And, you know, there was that mention of, you seem truly happy here, you know? And then it was like, whoa, like, is the happiness from the group that was supposed to be, you know, all mind control, and they're just trying to, you know, go against the system because the system works, right? And everybody wants to be pretty. And it was like, okay, at that point, if they're the ones responsible for the mind control, and this what makes you beautiful also makes you one of them, you know, one of us. At that point, then where does happiness lie? You know, like if you truly are so under their control, you don't really know what happiness is. And it was like, okay, wow, that concept alone is like, you know, there's these guys and then there's the other ones, and they seem happy, you know, they're free. They have their own freeness. They're almost kind of like the I don't know, the rogue or the kind of the hippie tribe, right? They've got their own, you know, they're out there, they're free, but they're going against the system.
Yeah,
but they're happy.
You're either a walking Instagram filter or you're one of the bush people. That's basically what this film is saying.
Right. But I really love that concept. The acting I found was so good. They played their parts so well. All of the actors, you know, it was so believable, right? They really brought you into how they're feeling. Like, no, this is how it should be, and all of us should be beautiful. And, you know, we all have things that can be fixed or improved.
Mm-hmm.
But then, okay, so then you're not happy with who you are, you know? Like, it all comes back to happiness, and I really love that. The use of the music when she broke free and snuck out at night and took her ring off and was able to, like, kind of run amongst the beautiful people. It was so cool. The use of the music, it was so punchy, and it was so kind of like, you know, she's sneaking out into the cover of darkness in the night to become one of them. And yeah, I really liked this movie. I wanted to make it my one, but sorry, Mousetrap happened.
I will say that the amount of filtering that was done on Paris by the end of the film, when they like super soldiered him, he was about one more filter away from being in Primus's Winona's Big Brown Beaver video. Lyle, your take on Uglies, your number 3 film.
Yeah, I kind of thought the same thing. It's in the middle of the pack because basically the feeling I had when I was done the movie is, wow, I really want to read the book now because I feel like it's probably a lot better. It feels like they tried to throw way too many concepts into a decent Black Mirror episode. That's what this whole thing kind of felt like. There was a lot of environmental stuff. There was the stuff about superficial nature, all kind of souped together, and it did work. I think the acting was really good, and you could tell that a lot of the talent in this really did believe in what they were doing. Definitely the highest budget on the list. You could just tell by the way it was shot and the music and the CGI effects and stuff like that. The super soldier guy did end up kind of looking like handsome Squidward from SpongeBob in the end. That's what I was thinking. When she saw him in the end in that final battle, and there's that slow motion where it pans over to his face, I was just like, wow, that's handsome Squidward, 100%. The only thing is the same thing that you said, Jason. All of the quote unquote ugly people aren't really that ugly. and a lot of the quote unquote beautiful people are just wearing makeup. Like even at the end when it reveals that like, you know, she underwent the procedure and it's her talking to her computer, like, how are you feeling? Oh, I feel great. It just shows her face and it's like, you went to Sephora. That was the procedure. As it does. A lot of the actors that play like the quote unquote ugly people, they tried their best, I guess, to make them look grimy in some way, but it didn't really work. I don't know how you would fix that. So again, there's a lot of the issues with the movie. I just find myself thinking, I bet this is done better in the book. So I guess it succeeded on that level because I'm very interested in the plot and the story's very good and the acting is good, but just I think it would better be suited to the page than the screen, I guess.
Yeah. And remember, the book series is written by Scott Westerfield, so you can find that at your local bookstores or probably on Kindle. All right. So we're going to go around the horn here and remind our listeners your picks. So Lyle, I'm going to go to you. From 1 to 5, how did you rank them?
All right, so 1 was the Mousetrap because it's fantastic. That's why. Number 2 was The Painter. Number 3 was Uglies. Number 4 was Wanted Man, and number 6 was The Brown Rose.
Carrie, from 1 to 5, your picks.
All right, number 1 is Mousetrap. 2 is Uglies. 3 was The Painter. 4 was, help me out here. Oh my gosh.
The Blue Rose.
4 was The Blue Rose. And then 5 actually make it like not even on the board is The Wanted Man. No, not Wanted. The Unwanted Man.
I love the fact you've already tried to purge The Blue Rose from your mind. Joseph, from 1 to 5, your picks.
I had Uglies at 1. I had The Painter at 2. I had Wanted Man at 3. The Blue Rose at 4. And Mousetrap at 5.
All right, and I had The Painter at number 1, Uglies at number 2, The Blue Rose at number 3, Mousetrap at number 4, and Wanted Man at number 5. Before we reveal which of these films stands above the rest, like the flower out of the compost heap, I'm going to go around the horn here. Now, remember, we are recording this in December of 2024, so the Razzie nominations for Worst Film of the Year have not been released yet. So, Joseph, I'm going to start with you. If you were putting money down on a Vegas line of every film that was released in 2024, which movie do you think will stand as the quote-unquote winner of the Worst Film of the Year?
Oh, God. This is it would have to be Madam Web, right? Like that one was like made into a joke like so soon after. Like I didn't watch it, but it's like I feel like that has to be it just from internet perception alone.
Lyle, to you, early prediction for Worst Movie of the Year.
It's going to be real tight. I obviously want to say Madam Web for many personal reasons, but for another set of also very personal reasons, it could also be Borderlands. So I don't know which of the two is going to make it, but I think on pure unadulterated meme power, it's got to be Madam Web as well.
Carrie, over to you. What do you think your early pick is for Worst Film of the Year?
Ooh, it's been a rough year. Post writer's strike, and there really wasn't a lot to choose from this year.
There's lots to choose from this year.
I didn't study for the exam, but I think that Borderlands was also pretty bad, so I'm going to agree with that one too.
See, I agree that Madam Web and Borderlands are definitely going to be in the running for this. You also have to think that The Crow might be in the running as well, because how dare you retell the Eric Draven story in a way that sucks?
And that was very critically panned.
But also, if any film is going to win Worst Movie of the Year based on one line of dialogue alone, it's probably going to be Megalopolis, because of Adam Driver going, go back to the club.
Oh, you're right. You're right there. But with The Crow, too, with Borderlands and Madam Web, you're onto something there, because people loved to hate Borderlands and Madam Web. People just straight up hated The Crow.
Yeah.
There was no joking tongue-in-cheek, we can take this apart online. Now, it was out for like a week, and everybody just basically went, no, and pushed it aside. Like,
Yeah. And a reminder, dear listeners, that in March, we are going to have our second annual Full Razzies month, where all the movies we talk about will have at some point been nominated for a Razzie. Our Keep Watch Pass episodes will be Razzie related. And of course, our Grading on a Curve special, ranking the 5 nominees for worst film of the year. And already I can see Lyle and Joseph going, oh dear God, don't call, please don't call.
Why do they make so many bad movies out of everything I love? Borderlands. Why?
Right? All right. So let us reveal which film rose to the top. Or should I say, in this case, for the first time ever in Grading on a Curve history, which film, plural? Because we have a tie. Working from the bottom, with an aggregate score of 4.25, Wanted Man, no one wanted that. With a straight aggregate of 4, The Blue Rose came in second last. In the middle of the pack, number 3, with a 2.75 score, was The Mousetrap, meaning The Painter and Uglies, with an average score of 2, ties for best of the worst of our films of 2024. That has never happened and maybe never will again. But, 2024, why do you hate us so?
So many disappointments.
Right?
There's so many. I would say that for the first time in a long time, more huge releases bombed than hit their mark this year.
Yeah, and I don't know.
Which is kind of hard to do when you think about it. There was a lot of movies that had some wildly high budgets that absolutely bet on arrival this year, more so than in recent history, I think. I don't know the numbers on it, but I'm sure for the Razzies episode we'll have the numbers. But it felt like a lot of stuff coming out that was really hyped up turned out to be very disappointing.
Yeah, and admittedly, a lot of the films that we talked about here, actually none of the films had a domestic box office. Only 2 of them had a foreign box office. So, I mean, we're dealing with a lot of straight to streaming, or at least straight to North American streaming releases. So when we do get to the Razzie special, we're going to be dealing with the ones that are, they had a box office. Not much of one, but they had one. And there are still films to come out that I'm sure could potentially be in, conversation. Kraven the Hunter. I'm just saying.
Everything I love.
Right?
Everything I love gets bastardized as soon as it gets to the screen lately. I don't know what it is.
All right. So let's go around the horn here for a second. Lyle, please let our listeners know where they can find you out there on the interwebs.
You can find me on both Twitter and Instagram. I am a producer for Game Plus TV, so definitely tune in to all of our programming on Game Plus. Some Glory Fight Lives. You'll hear me kind of lend my voice to some Destiny wrestling as well here in the coming weeks. So yeah, check us out there.
Joseph, let them know.
Hey, you can find me on Instagram at Joseph Whalen 17 and on the Twitter machine at Joe Whalen 19, or I guess it's the X machine now. And I just want to say, Kelsey Grammer blocked Dolph Lundgren's number. You don't need to do that, man. Any more favors? You're done. Okay. I just want to take my time to just say that.
Okay. Joseph, do me a favor. Okay.
Yeah.
If the day comes that you join Blue Sky, please make it Joseph Whalen 18, just so we have the 3 numbers in a row.
Yeah. That's it. We'll do it. Complete the trifecta.
Gary, thank you so much as well for joining in for yet another contractually obligated appearance on Grading on a Curve. You should have read the marriage contract. You realize that, right?
This was in the way fine print, wasn't it?
It was in volume 27.
Right.
All right. And to you, our dear listeners, guys, thank you all so much for an incredible 2024. The numbers, the analytics, and just hearing from all of you. It has been so much fun bringing all of these episodes to you. And I guarantee you that 2025, we have a ton of stuff. Also, we've got merch. Go to our website, notthatbadcast.com. You want to buy a shirt. Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. Until next time, she's Carrie. He's Lyle. He's Joseph. I'm Jay. You guys are awesome. This is Grading on a Curve on the It's Not That Bad podcast channel, a proud member of the Pantheon Podcast Network. Look out 2025. Here we come.